Hi, Algebra 1. Let's jump into this review for Unit 4, or now Module 4 test. And as you already know, it is no longer Google Classroom. We are now working in Canvas. I just forgot to update that from last year. Let's dive into this first question, which is pretty straightforward. This is just testing to see if you do understand that the domain are the x values and that the range of a relation, those are the y values. So when we have ordered pairs like this, your first number in every group, those are your x values. The other thing you need to keep in mind, you really should write them in order. So our lowest x value here is 3. Then we've got 5, 6, and do not repeat. All right, 9 is the final answer there, so don't repeat it. You only need 1 9. That's why it helps to write them in order so you don't make that kind of mistake. For our range, those are the second values, same thing. We're going to start with a 1. We're going to start with then a 4. We've got 2 8s there. We only write 1 8 and then a 10. Now, if you weren't really paying attention, you also needed to determine if this is a function. So let's check it out. The one I would be concerned about here is this 9. And since the 9 maps to 2 different numbers, that 9 repeats, this is not a function. So if your x values match with more than one y value, it is not a function. Same is true if we were looking at a graph or a mapping diagram. We want to make sure that those inputs only map to one unique output. So speaking of mapping diagram, let's look at question 2. All right, so we're going to, I guess I kind of did part 2 already in question 1, but that's okay. I forgot that I had added that as a question in question 2. So anyways, we're going to create a mapping diagram. So basically just take the values from your domain, which are 3, 5, 6, and 9, and then from our range 1, 4, 8, and 10. And we want to map those. So the 3 mapped to the 8, the 5 maps to the 4, the 6 maps to the 1, and this is our problem child number 9 maps to the 8 and to the 10, which is why you can tell this is not a function. Question 3 asks us to determine if a graph is a function from just looking at the graph. And this is where the vertical line test comes in handy. You'll see right here I've got a vertical line that I've already drawn, and I can drag it across my function. And I'm going to be looking at all the places this graph intersects my function. So as I drag it along, anywhere, let me try that again. There it is. Anywhere that I stop on here, I'm going to inspect right there, and I can see that this purple line only crosses this curve right here at this point, and anywhere that I drag this across, if I stop there, it only intersects at one point. So as long as that's true, as long as whenever I drag it across, it only hits my graph at one point, and that's true anywhere along this graph, then yes, this is a function. If I look at the second graph, I'm going to use the same test, and you can see as I drag it along for some time, it only intersects at one point. But there becomes a point where when I hit right about here, you can see that that curve is starting to kind of fold on top of itself. And now my vertical line has 2 points that it crosses. So this one is not a function. So basically what I'm saying You can kind of see that this is approximately at, all sorts of crazy things are going on. This is approximately at 2. So at 2, it's intersecting here at -1 and 2. So there, for this x value, there are 2 outputs, just like up here for this x value, there were 2 outputs, and that's why this is not a function. For question 4 here, we are going to use the functions given. F of x and g of x are given. This first one just asks us to use f of x. To do that, we need to recognize that the x has been replaced with the 7. So what that means is x equals 7. And then we're going to substitute that for the x right here. That's going to be 4 times 7 minus 17. And then that will equal, let's see, 28 minus 17. So our final answer is 11. Pretty straightforward there. Now for number 5, this changes a little bit. This one says that g of x, the whole thing, we want to find the x this time. So this is quite a bit different. We're going to substitute this time. We're still substituting, but this time we're replacing the whole g of x with the 7x plus 2. So that means that 7x plus 2 equals 65, and I solve for x there. So 7x, subtracting the 2 from both sides, would be 63. Divide by 7, x equals 9. So this time it's reverse of what we did in example 4. For final example 6, we're going to replace that g with the g of x above, and then we'll replace the f of x here with the f of x shown here. So we're going to replace both of those. So watch what this looks like. The g of x becomes 7x plus 2, and then the minus, and this is where you need to remember parentheses. So parentheses, f of x is 4x minus 17. And you need those parentheses because you need to remember to distribute that negative there. All right. When I simplify this, I get 7x plus 2 minus 4x plus 17. And then combine any like terms. So 7x plus 4x, that's 3x, and then 2 plus 17 is 19. So our final answer here is 3x plus 19. You might be asked on the test to do all sorts of things to the functions. So for example, if I said g of x plus 2, it might be asking me to go ahead and add 7x plus 2 plus another 2. So that would be 7x plus 4. So there's all sorts of things they might ask you to do in order to rewrite your function. I'm actually, here's the good news, so thank you for watching the video. I am not going to do a question like this on the actual test when you see it on Monday, so you don't need to worry about that one. We didn't cover it very well in class, so I wanted to give you guys a break.